We continue our lecture series into the Musar movement, as Naila has appropriately entitled it, The Musar Revolution. Today's class is L'nei Nishmas Rachalei Bas Rav Chaim Tzvi Aleh Shalom. And to remind us from what we said in the past, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter had the idea of creating a Musar movement. His agenda was simply, he felt that Jews were lacking in moral sensitivity, ethical perfection, and there's a need for improvement. Furthermore, this was to be the answer to the so-called Enlightenment, which I called Endarkenment, which had hurled accusation and invective upon the religious community. You are indolent, you are dishonest, you are delinquent, you are slovenly. He felt a far better way to answer the arguments were not by counter-arguing, but by displaying perfection of behavior, ethical sensitivity, moral sensitivity, ethical perfection. That's a much better way to trump an argument than arguing, I'm better, you're better, but rather, you look at the behavior and that's the best proof that their conduct proves that their way of life is superior. But it didn't happen. Then, like today, the behavior really is not so superior. We would like to believe it's superior, but it's not so compellingly proper and not free of Chilul Hashem that can make such an impression. But where he was very successful was in viewing his message into his students. And we're going to see now into yet another school which evolves from Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, and that's going to be Novardik. What happened was one of Yisrael Salanter's primary disciples is Reb Simcha Zisel Ziv, the eldest of the disciples. About Rabbi Yisrael Salanter said, "Hinei yafa rayasi umumein bach," the pasuk from Shir Shirim, "You are beautiful, my beloved, and there's no blemish within you. You are perfect." He said that by Yisrael Simcha Zisel, and he became the Alter from Kelm. And that becomes the mother lode of Musar. From that rich vein, so much Musar is drawn out. Because evolving from Kelm will be Slobodka. And from a personal conversation with Simcha Zisel to Rabbi Yosef Horowitz will evolve Novardik, our subject of today. I'm greatly indebted to a book written by Rabbi Hillel Goldberg, and also a fabulous pamphlet which he put together. He edited when he was in college. It's called Musar Anthology. I would hold it up, I have it here in my lectern, and show it to you, but that would only be a tease by virtue of the fact it's out of print and cannot be acquired. But I want to describe this a little bit because what happened was, when Rabbi Goldberg was going to college in Boston, and as everyone knows, the finest colleges in the nation are in Boston. So you have these kids that are in college in the early 70s, highly brilliant people. They are, I would call them perhaps hippie-esque, as was very common in the early 70s. But all these young college students get an attachment to Musar. And they put together this fabulous book called The Musar Movement. I came across it when I was in 10th grade, and it made such an impact upon me. I'm holding in front of me, my version has all my notes from 10th grade. I look back with a little bit embarrassment of some of the comments I made, but it's so annotated and highlighted. It's a wonderful, wonderful booklet. I don't encourage anything that Rabbi Goldberg writes. Hillel Goldberg is always Musar oriented through and through. We move now to the Alter from Novardik, Rabbi Yosef Yozel Horowitz, for he was Novardik. Novardik, by the way, is a town outside Minsk, Belarus, and he's only going to get to Novardik much later on, but that's where he's going to establish his first school, and all schools will have that stempel, imperator of Novardik. Back to Rabbi Yozel Horowitz, a young, brilliant fellow with a great future ahead of himself in learning, and he gets engaged to a girl at a young age. He's 18 years old, where he's promised a handsome dowry which will enable him to learn years unfettered, and there are going to be 3 jolts which will rock his life. Jolt number 1 occurs when during the engagement his father-in-law passes away, and with him goes the entire fortune. And everyone encourages this boy, don't marry this girl, for if you marry her, not only will you not be supported, you'll have to support your mother-in-law and your wife and her 7 or 8 siblings. It's not clear to me how many he had. 7 or 8 siblings she had. And but his father says, the father of Yozel Horowitz says, you've made a commitment to this woman, you must marry her. And he abides by this advice, he marries this woman, but that was jolt number 1. To support his wife, his mother-in-law, and his wife's 7 or 8 siblings, he becomes a cloth merchant. Because he's such a clever person, he's able to earn a handsome profit, and he smuggles cloth. Basically what he's doing is smuggling from Russia to Prussia. And going over that Russian-Prussian border, one day he meets for the first time Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. As we learned in the past, Rabbi Yisrael Salanter established himself in Memel, a port town in Germany, which will be Prussia. And as he's smuggling over the border, Rav Shlomo is with his Talmud, his very close disciple, Rabbi Yitzchak of Blazer, Yitzchak Petterberger. And it's not clear to me, was it Rabbi Yitzchak who said this, or was it Rabbi Shlomo himself? But they say to this young cloth merchant, you could be learning more Torah. Says Rabbi Yozel back in his own self-defense, with what will I learn? With what will I learn? I have to support. With what will I live? With what will I live? I have to support my mother-in-law, my wife, and she has now 2 children of her own, and my wife's 7 siblings. With what will I live? Said Rabbi Yitzchak or Rabbi Shlomo, with what will you die? And those words pierced his heart. You're so concerned about this world and your livelihood. What about spiritual matters which you're going to take to the world to come? And that pierced his heart. This seems to be a dynamic lesson of all